Use PAP page 83. CANZE Advisory Opinion 9 quintillion 138 quadrillion 139 trillion 140 billion 141,142,143 Its impaired condition. The valuation of properties impacted by environmental contamination usually involves the estimate of two values, the unimpaired value and the impaired. As such, two highest and best use analyses are typically required. The first does not consider any limitations on the property due to the environmental contamination. The second does consider any limitations due to the contamination, its remediation, and any legal use restrictions associated with the cleanup of the contamination source. Environmental contamination and its remediation to appropriate regulatory standards may affect the feasibility of site development or redevelopment, use of the site during remediation, use of the site after remediation, marketability of the site, and other economic and physical characteristics of a contaminated property. The appraiser should consider the possibility that site remediation and any remaining limitations on the use of the site following remediation may alter or limit its highest and best use in the impaired condition. In addition, excessive environmental risk and stigma may deter site development or redevelopment and thereby limit the highest and best use until the property's environmental risk is reduced to levels acceptable to the relevant market participants. 144 undecillion, 145 decillion, 146 nonillion, 147 octillion, 148 septillion, 149 sextillion, 150 quintillion, 151 quadrillion, 152 trillion, 153 billion, 154 million, 155,156 satisfying SR 1 to 4 requirements. When the appraiser addresses the diminution in value of a contaminated property and/or its impaired value, the appraiser must recognize that the value of an interest in impacted or contaminated real estate may not be measurable simply by deducting the remediation or compliance cost estimate from the opinion of the value as if unaffected, unimpaired value. Rather, cost, use and risk effects can potentially impact the value of contaminated property. Cost effects primarily represent deductions for costs to remediate a contaminated property. These costs are usually estimated by someone other than the appraiser, and should include consideration of any increased operating costs due to property remediation. The appraiser should also be aware that the market might not recognize all estimated costs as having an effect on value. Use effects reflect impacts on the utility of the site as a result of the contamination. If the contamination and/or its cleanup rendered a portion of the site unusable or limited the future highest and best use of the property, then there could be a use effect on value. Risk effects are typically estimated by the appraiser and often represent the most challenging part of the appraisal assignment. These effects are derived from the market's perception of increased environmental risk and uncertainty. The analysis of the effects of increased environmental risk and uncertainty on property value, environmental stigma, must be based on market data, rather than unsupported opinion or judgment. 157 septillion, 158 sextillion, 159 quintillion, 160 quadrillion, 161 trillion, 162 billion, 163 million, 164,165 general. An opinion of the subject property's unimpaired value can be developed using the sales comparison PP Roach, Senior 1 to 4, a cost approach, Senior 1 to 4, B. An income approach, Senior 1 to 4, C. Estimating the effects of environmental contamination on real property value usually involves the application of one or more specialized valuation methods. These methods should be consistent with the requirements related to the valuation approaches in USPAP 186-167-83 Nyons 2018-2019 edition. Sal Foundation.